storm. Love's feels of tired sleepers beyond the silent windowsill. Love's ring eyes now fade with weight. The silent phantom. We'll run like silent phantoms, free until the dawn. We're entwined in midnight's embrace. Your house, a purple prison, so far away. Well, I'll hide our game in the treetops, and sleeping fountains we will chase. Come, Mary, come and watch the storm. Love's candle has exhausted, she's dreaming of your birth. Love's clever watch is laid to sleep. I'll wait for you. Downstairs I'll wait for you beyond the porch that creep. We're entwined in midnight's embrace. Your house, a purple ruin, so far away. And I'll hide our game in the trees.
Slam Pigs Podcast, the Mickey High Spots. This is episode 76 live. It's just me. As you can see, I'm just one man. And this is really weird. First ever morning live stream for Slam Pigs. But obviously last night, as promoted, we had Kayfabe Today on Broski, Robbie Radford, and our buddy Jordan. Unfortunately, due to major audio tech issues, that episode's recording is going to be known as the lost episode. And hopefully get those guys back on in the future and get a redo. But I'm trying to get this out because Raw is tonight. It is Monday, like I said, and man, doing it by yourself. But yeah, I'm gonna get it done real quick. Follow me on Twitter at @TheHibickyTMD. All apologies to Kayfabe Today once again, and apologies to you guys for promoting that and not living up to the expectations. But with shitty audio issues aside, I'm here. I'm getting it done for you guys, getting something out at least that suffices for an episode 6. Real quick. If you didn't see it, check out Cruise Control episode 11, just dropped yesterday, with Logan and Kristen as usual, talking Drew Gulak, what to do with him, and reviewing some Kota Ibushi and Cedric Alexander from the CWC last year. But this is live. I'm here. Any of you guys that stop by the chat, I will be sure to hit you up, and thank you guys for stopping by, but let's get right into it. I'm not going to go over everything again, because for Christ's sakes, we went over 2 hours last night. It is what it is, but yeah, a lot of things happened. A couple things happened in the news this week. For one, Eva Marie is officially gone. She's done. I thought she was gone a year ago. I'm not gonna bullshit you. I really did. I completely forgot that she was even employed. What can you say about Eva Marie's run? It's really frustrating and depressing for me personally to think that she's been employed since like 2012, 2013, but she did. I mean, shout out to her for maintaining a job for so long, but really, yes, this heel persona that she gave her for what, a month or two right before she got suspended for Adderall or injured or whatever the fuck it was. I think if this was 99, 2000, 2001, I think in a different era, that could have totally been like a Sable. And I think work rate wise, she's completely on par as Sable. Eva Marie is terrible in the ring, but I will go out there to say she may have been better than Sable was in the ring. That may be a good thing to maybe dabble in and think about who was worse in the ring, Sable or Eva Marie. Thank God we never have to see a match with those two, but I mean, I never want to see anyone lose their job, all jokes aside or whatever. She just doesn't belong in pro wrestling. I know a lot of Total Divas is scripted, but I think a lot of that first season was more organic from the hip, and then it got hokier and scripted later on, but I think from what I saw, she never seemed equipped with thick enough skin, backstage politically wise, to cut it. In WWE, she always seemed to get upset at the drop of a hat. She said dumb things all the time, dumb comments that rubbed Stephanie McMahon and people the wrong way, and of course, lying about having a dance background. We all know the trials and tribulations of Eva Marie at this point. She's landed an acting gig. I'm pretty sure she's going to attempt. So I mean, more power to her, but. Yes, Eva Marie is gone, and as much as I was not a fan of it. What's up, broski? What's up? R.I.P. Big Red. Eric, first thing in the morning. Get over there, hit that like, subscribe. He is in the chat. Thank you, man, for stopping by. Yeah, he cannot listen to the slander of Eva Marie. At the end of the day, though, I think it does boil down to the fact that it's just that era. Like I tried to mention last night on the show that got lost, that there's those snide, snarky fans that we all know that are not as open-minded to us for different types of wrestling at the end of the day. They only accept strong style or a certain work rate. I just don't think they'd ever give this woman a chance. I just think it wouldn't be heel heat. Those people would castrate this woman, as they did. The Full Sail fans always gave her X-Pac go-away heat. It was never like, you're such a bad heel heat, in my opinion. It was just like, get this woman the fuck off our television. To her credit, I will say, especially for you, Bursky, by the end of it, especially when she was doing in NXT more, when they're giving her a little with training Kendrick, she did play to that crowd more and more as a heel, and she was picking up nuances to be a heel. So I will give her credit for that. Just a naturally unlikable woman is pretty much across the boards. But it is what it is. Another story out this week. I don't know if it's really news because, for one, nothing really happened, and we don't know a lot of the backstory on it, and it's just overglorifying things because they're public figures in the public eye. Chris Jericho was caught by TMZ footage in a drunk, intoxicated altercation with two fellas outside of a club, apparently somewhere in Cleveland. I believe after SmackDown, Cincinnati or Cleveland, one of the two. The footage I saw, I'm not gonna lie, was entertaining as shit. Jericho reminded me of a roided up, I don't give a fuck Jack Sparrow mixed with like an 80s glam singer. He was just persistent. And my favorite part about this was Jericho is a guy who's smart enough to know, hit me first, motherfucker. Hit me first, and then we'll go. Because he knows if he's swinging on these guys first, he's not only paying for it with his reputation, he's paying for it with his wallet. And I think a lot of guys in the public eye, especially, and I hate to say it, guys in the NFL, they don't think things through a lot. Yes, I get that your pride's on the line, but at the end of the day, bank accounts add up more than your pride sometimes. And just think, like, by all means, if you want to entice somebody, provoke them, that's definitely the route I would go if I was Jericho. Now, we don't know if Jericho started the shit, these guys started the shit. I don't know. I mean, you guys may. But it seems like these guys were just too big for their britches. If it had come to blows, I'm very sure Chris Jericho could have easily handled both of these guys. They were scrawny. They like a $1.05 soaking wet each. But yeah, it was hilarious. Classic lines in there from Jericho. So if you have not seen that, if anything, it's definitely worth a watch. Yeah. A lot of stuff coming out with the Jim Ross actually this week came out with the John Jones talk and saying, now this was quoted from a blog from Jim Ross, that John Jones is interested and is open to a WWE appearance. A lot of people calling bullshit on that. I don't know. At the end of the day, what do you guys think? Would you rather listen to a Tuna Meltzer or a Jim Ross? Like, credibility-wise, both of those guys, yes, they have their naysayers or whatnot, but those two guys seem the most accurate out of most, and I believe it. If anything, we saw Floyd Mayweather in the Big Show. I totally believe that there's going to be cross-promotion involved in that. Why wouldn't you do cross-promotion? Even, and the smart way is, yes, I totally think business-wise, you do the UFC fight first. You totally do that first, before the WWE fight. But yeah, I think because Mayweather, his match with the Big Show at WrestleMania, quite honestly surprised me at how well that played out, because everyone thought that was going to be a shit fest. And if you're out there saying you didn't think Mayweather and the Big Show was going to be the shits going into it, you're a liar, because nobody had good expectations for that match. But that match is really good for some reason. It's a match that doesn't need good work rate to be a good. The crowd was invested, the circumstances surrounding it. Mayweather was such an unlikable fuck. I mean, it's Mayweather. You know what I mean? He just has to show up, basically. And Big Show, he was more lean. That was right on the heels of a 2008 comeback. He totally had the crowd on his side, and the spectacle of how they made that WrestleMania look at 24 with the entrances from Mayweather and everything was amazing on top of it. So you definitely had a total package in that match. And, knocking him out with brass knucks. A lot of people had a problem with Mayweather beating the Big Show. It's fucking pro wrestling, people. And at least he used a weapon. At least he didn't just punch him. So, but I think Jones and Lesnar, if it does come to WWE, that could be a whole other ball of wax. But I'm not going to be a negative Nancy about it. I'm going to be open-minded to it. Of course, I think we're all hyped to see the Jones-Lesnar fight, just because I want to see Brock destroy Jones legit one-on-one. I think, even though Brock is a little rusty, I just think a good big man beats a good littler man any day of the week. And I think Brock Lesnar is no average big man at the same time. So definitely hyped for both of that. But going to get to more of that later on. But as far as that, news-wise, I know that there's a lot of speculation about the broken stuff going on, and a lot of it's blowing up in Anthem Sports' face. We'll get into that here on a little bit of the Raw talk, but I'm still waiting. But I'm done. I'm done pandering over it. Like I said, if it happens, it happens at this point. But I guess speaking of Raw, with no intro music queued up because I am a one-man band, it's time for this week's Raw review. Monday Night Raw this week was live, and it pretty much the biggest highlight coming out of the show. Like I said at the top of the show, and it's just too much to go back over. For one, reviewing one Raw episode a week is plenty. I get my fill. So I'm just going to dabble over it here with a highlighted marker. And yeah, Tuna Meltzer reference. Yep. Have no fear. And thank you so much, man, for stopping by the chat again. Appreciate it, Percy. But this obviously opened up with Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar in ring. The promo now, that the infamous promo a week later, because Raw is tonight. If Brock loses, he will leave WWE. Michael last night on Slam Pigs, in his mind, this is a lock just because of that line. I'm kind of with what my buddy Drew last night from Kayfabe Today said on the show. I think it could be a little bit of bait and switch. I think eventually we're going to get that. I just don't think it's SummerSlam. And trust me, that's not how I want to see it play out. I would rather it come off of Brock at SummerSlam. But you guys know how the old man is. At the end of the day, he changes his mind like people change socks, man. It's like I hate stepping in fucking water on my floor in socks. I have to change them immediately. And Vince McMahon, world title matches are kind of like his wet socks. He changes his mind all the fucking time. But if anything, the execution by far, I mean, it's Paul Heyman. Expect no less. He did great here. This was, I mean, if you didn't see this, close your eyes and picture Paul Heyman just delivering a great Paul Heyman promo mixed in with the Brock will leave line. And that was pretty much it. Come up with the big things coming out of the show. Obviously, the biggest match everyone's talking about, the triple threat match, Braun Strowman, Roman Reigns, and Samoa Joe. Great match. My favorite part of Raw, by far, was this. Besides the Heyman stuff, every time Strowman and Roman are in there, they just have pure intensity together, and they just complement each other so well. And I'm digging it. I'm not sick of those two in any kind of multi-man match, singles match. It doesn't matter. But this was really good. And if anything on the show, I say go out of your way to check out these two things. And also, shout out to back to the Hardys thing. The Hardys this week on Raw was actually a refreshing fucking tag segment on Raw. I don't know what they're doing with Gallows and Anderson right now, but I'm digging it. This tweener business, if they're just in holding, I don't know what it is, or they're heel. If you're going to take any guys in any tag division on the main roster and make them tweeners, I think these two guys are the Revival would be perfect fits right now out of any. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, they're just, some of their lines that they get in, that they just make me smile, and they're fun to watch. And obviously, the Bullet Club background and all that stuff, that gets all your marks invested and all that stuff. But I mean, I dig it. I dig it if they're going to do the tweener route. And if anything, it's something different. And God knows the tag division on both shows right now, even though the Usos and the New Day are really entertaining, there's not a lot of meat to the SmackDown tag scene also. So it's something different. It's something that it's head turning and it shakes it up. And I'm open to that, especially during going to your second biggest show of the year. Unfortunately, it seems like someone who won't be going into the second biggest show of the year is Bayley, who apparently was injured this week on Raw in a match with Nia Jax. I'm not going to point fingers. I don't know if Nia was at fault or Bayley was at fault. For one, unless it's blatant, like a Dynamite Kid type thing where he blatantly clotheslines the shit out of you on purpose, I never point fingers, and I hate when people do that shit, like with the Rollins stuff. Shit happens. It's not fucking ballet. And cool the Jets, people. So cool down. And yes, I know Nia's not that great in the ring, but she's not malicious. So, I mean, I think it's a whole other thing. But I know this is going to make me sound like a shithead. This injury for Bayley, best thing that could ever fucking happen to her right now. We know my 2 cents on the whole Bayley thing since she's been up to the main roster. And anybody's been more damaged than Bray Wyatt it's Bayley. I mean, flat out. And I think this injury, not maliciously, is a good thing to happen to her because it makes her go away. It makes her go away. She shouldn't even have been back now. They should have just kept running it with Sasha, and then you could have brought Bayley back. Get the feud longer with Alexa and Sasha under their belt. So if Sasha or Bayley or either one of them are going to turn, at least it could have been a longer feud to base it off of, if that makes sense. But like I said, you bring back now. When I say bring back Bayley fresh, I don't know still if I want to turn her heel or face. I don't know the route. A lot of people are saying, yes, you've got to turn her heel. She's boring. Or do we know, let's be careful what we wish for. Do we know that Bayley's going to make a good heel? What if she doesn't shits the bed? If anything, stick to what you're good at. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I totally put the blame squarely on the booking more than Bayley. I'm not the biggest fan of her in-ring work or her promos. I know that spot on Raw Talk didn't do her any favors. But at the end of the day, the booking has hurt Bayley more than Bayley has hurt Bayley. And I think rejuvenation is exactly what the girl needs. She is talented, yes. When people just flat out, because of what they've done to her with the booking, it's like, we all forget that we were Bayley fans 2 or 3 years ago when she was tearing it up in NXT. She is talented, yes. Time to hit the reset button, no pun intended, to the Reset Button show with Tannen. Get over here, check that show out. But she will, I think when she comes back, it should be fresh, and it should help her in the long run. I hope, for her sake. As far as Nia Jax in the title picture now and Alexa Bliss and all that stuff, the safe thing, I guess, would be to just do it Sasha and Alexa and keep it going. That's probably what I would do. They could spice it up in their eyes and do Nia and Alexa, heel versus heel. I don't know if they want to make Nia a babyface. I have a feeling at the end of the day, down the road, they see Nia Jax as a babyface. And I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. Whatever it is, neither women's division on the main roster is setting my world on fire at all. At all right now. I'm not invested in anything going on either side at the moment. But it's what it is. Monday Night Raw, other than that this week, a few things here or there. Balor was out again. Some stuff with Bray Wyatt. Don't care. And you know what? I'm a Wyatt fan, but it's because of Bray Wyatt that I don't care. Flat out. They've just taken this character who at one time was completely interesting and have just turned him into this thing that any feud he's inserted in for me it's just done. It's just dead. It's deadpan. It's just bleh. It's filler. It should not come off as filler with a guy as talented as Bray Wyatt, and that's criminally like, it's so bad that that's happened to him, but it is what it is. The last time I gave a shit about Bray Wyatt was Elimination Chamber, when I thought they were going to give him a serious run, but then I saw they're putting him in a feud with Orton into WrestleMania, and I knew it. Fucking knew it. They just can't help themselves with Wyatt. I don't know what this man does backstage. And yes, guys, I did check out the preview for the Simon Gotch, not Simon Botch, Simon Gotch RF video shoot coming out, and he talked about a little of this stuff, and it looks really good actually, and I might get it. I really do, just for more Great Khali's hygiene stories with raw chickens in his hotel room and just taking a piss in the shower, not while showering, just doing it. But yeah. As far as that, Monday Night Raw this week, I mean, like I said, not the greatest Raw, not the worst Raw of the year, just kind of a Raw that was there. It did get a couple points across as far as main angles. With definitely the Lesnar stuff by far was the biggest news coming out of the show. Triple Threat was the match to go out of your way and watch. Overall, though, before we get into SmackDown, I'll go ahead and say SmackDown was the bigger show, but I feel like it was set up for SmackDown to be a little more biased to say that, but that's obviously what a big match does. And SmackDown totally delivered this week. I will say it. I'm going to come out and say last week I made the statement that I don't think Nakamura and Cena would have good chemistry in the ring. Some guys, when I just see that they're building up to their first match ever, I get a feeling that they're just not going to connect. And I got that from these two. One, it was like the language barrier. Two, is just Cena's clunkiness sometimes. I just don't know what it was. And plus, Nakamura not exactly knocking it out of the park recently on the main roster didn't help either. But I gotta give it to him. SmackDown Live this week had the big match for the number one contendership at SummerSlam, Cena Nakamura, and winner gets Jinder. And I gotta say, man, great match. And it wasn't like anything amazing, but for a Cena match, really good. And it was finally Finally felt good to see Nakamura get, it felt like an established match on the main roster. He hasn't really had a match on the main roster that you could point to and be like, this one. You know what I mean? So it's good that now he has at least one under his belt, and who better of a guy, at least under this brand, to have it with. The big spot of the match coming out, the big news with the backstage stuff after, dropped him right on his head. Which, I don't want to see any malicious thing or anything bad happen to Cena. It looked nasty. I'm glad he's okay. And a word on the street says Shinsuke apologized backstage, and John said you don't have to. So that was cool. But I'm pretty sure if it was like the 80s or 90s, that wouldn't have happened. Just saying. But yeah, what did you guys think of the match? I liked it. Like I said, it wasn't the greatest match I've ever seen in my life, but for these two, it was a hell of a lot better than I thought it would. Hell of a lot better. And credit to them. Obviously, they finally got the Kinshasa shot on the correct camera angle, so it didn't look like complete horseshit. But Nakamura, after kicking out of an AA, all this stuff came out looking strong. Cena was not hurt booking-wise. Cena is impossible to be hurt booking-wise at this point, unless he comes out dressed like Hogan and Mr. Nanny, and even then, I don't think Cena's going to be hurt. But yeah, they're going with Nakamura and Jinder into SummerSlam. Do I think that's the match to go with? I do. I just doing some thinking on it and stuff. I think now was the time more than ever to pull the trigger on Nakamura if they were going to do it. They couldn't have let this guy just flounder for maybe a month or two more at the most. That's what they could have got of it. But we are not in an era with fans that have patience. People just don't have the patience to wait around to the Rumble next year. I'd love to have seen it. I would have loved to have seen it play out that way. They would just had patience with it, let Nakamura win the Rumble, Balor, something like that. But 9 times out of 10, they don't, because like it goes back to the very top of the show, the old man and his wet socks. But I mean, if anything, I am definitely way more hyped for SummerSlam 2017 than I am for SummerSlam last year, just based on the 2 title matches alone. The 4-way match, I'm so looking forward to that match. They got me. They fucking got me. And I'm just really interested to see how this is going to pan out. Either way, I'd be happy to see Jinder carry for a little bit longer, get a nice little dominant run. He's a new champion. He's a new talent you've elevated. You need to get him a little bit established, like they're doing a good job with Neville with the Cruiserweight title. But at the same time, like I said, pulling the trigger with Nakamura, I'm happy with either way in that, honestly. Either way they book that. Unfortunately, what we all know they're going to fucking do, I think, is all over the dirt sheets. Everyone's talking about it's supposed to be Nakamura going over with Corbin cashing in immediately. I really hope that's not the case. For one, we have seen that finish play out so many fucking times. It's overdone. Number 2, it doesn't make Corbin or Nakamura look strong or look any better coming out of it. I think it makes them look a little bit weaker. It makes Corbin obviously look like a coward. Even though he's a heel, it's going to make him look like a coward. That's why putting Money in the Bank on a big man like that in the first place, I hated it with Kane. I'm not really digging it with Corbin either. He wasn't really the guy I would have put it on, but they did it. And I think, obviously, it makes Nakamura look weak. How can you not look weak getting Money in the Bank cash in there? But if anything positive that would come out of that, yes, it would draw the sympathy for Nakamura. And yes, the rematch would come. And they did have a good match on SmackDown last week, much better than Battleground. And maybe the third match could be better. That's the scenario I think they're going to go with. But it is going to be Nakamura officially and Jinder Mahal for the title at SummerSlam. I guess Cena and Jinder probably would have upset a lot of people, and I get it. But yes, shout out to Megan Starr in the chat. Thank you. It was a much better match than I think a lot of people expected, quite honestly. But yeah, man, I it is what it is. They didn't go with Cena. I don't think I would have hated that scenario either. I wouldn't have been in love with it, but I would have gotten it. I would have gotten if they went in that scenario. You know what I mean? It looks like it's going to be Cena and Corbin too in a match at SummerSlam, which we've all seen. Those guys have shit fests in the ring together. Even the table spot after the match with Cena and Corbin, the Nakamura match, wasn't that great. I don't know. Hopefully if they do that, it's a better match. A couple other things from SmackDown this week. It looks like, unfortunately, Rusev and Randy Orton are having a match at SummerSlam, and that is a shame, especially considering the match we saw this week with Chad Gable and Rusev. This match, if anything on either of the main shows this week, was my favorite match. For one, it was a good contrast. A good little tech guy, a bigger technical guy. We'd never seen these two have a one-on-one match. It was a tag guy who's in a new singles run. It had a lot of new to it. But it had a lot of new to it with two guys who can fucking go and two guys that know how to play off of a guy bigger or smaller than them. So they totally had chemistry. It was amazing. And yes, they were in NXT together forever. They came up together in the Performance Center. They definitely know each other very well, Chad Gable and Rusev. And I'd love to see more. I really would. And I think we will. I think somebody backstage had to take note of how good this match was this week on SmackDown. But after the match, after Rusev gets the win, a hard-fought victory, Chad Gable taps out. Um, Rusev cuts a promo saying he's beaten all your heroes. Battleground was a fluke. Then, lo and fucking behold, here comes Randy Orton, RKO, from behind saying, "You never beat me." And that looks like what they're going with SummerSlam. And I say that's a shame because, like I said with Orton earlier, it's like you insert certain guys into feuds at this stage of the game in their career, and it just nullifies the fucking thing for me. It's like, I think they're going to put Rusev over at SummerSlam, but what does it really mean at the end of the day over Orton? I think, if anything, the difference between Cena and Orton is that Cena's a company guy, Orton gives no fucks. Cena has actually gone out of his way to try to reinvent himself a little bit and change it up, some new moves, something about himself, whereas Orton's just pretty much like, fuck you, pay me, I'm Randy goddamn Orton, why do I have to change? And yes, it's really easy to like Randy Orton for that, but at the same time, it's really hard to see him on my TV every year for that. It's just the same thing. It's the same rinse and repeat Orton feud. And Rusev deserves way better. Rusev deserves to be in the U.S. title shot against AJ Styles, in my opinion. That's what I would have gone for SummerSlam with those two. But alas, they did not. They felt that Orton was a better pick. Maybe you guys think this was a better pick. I don't know. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments down below. After you hit that like and subscribe, of course. And yes, Megan in the chat says, rumor is Cena is going to Raw after SummerSlam. He's on Raw live shows for the off SummerSlam. So I think he's going to go after whoever wins the Fatal 4-Way match. I have heard that rumor too. I think that's true. He is advertised for house shows and stuff also on the Raw brand, like you said. And yes, I do agree, Megan. Rusev does deserve better. But alas, you know what is better every week for me on SmackDown at least? The Usos again and the New Day. Another great segment this week. Bunch of talking shit. And these two teams are the epitome of just good talkers right now for banter and talking shit back and forth. And they play off each other well. Obviously, these guys are great friends backstage. They've known each other for years. I'm just really digging it. Usually I get sick of feuds that go on this long, but it's too good. It's too entertaining. The matches on top of it, the promos, and when everything's good, you just don't want certain feuds to end sometimes. Besides that, SmackDown Women's Division this week, some more stuff with Naomi and Natty. And quite frankly, like I said earlier, it's so mundane with the women's. I still can't believe this is the match they're going with for. I can't believe it's not Charlotte or Becky. You know what I mean? It's just asinine to think business wise. I get it. They don't love to do babyface versus babyface all the time, but why not? It's a SmackDown Women's title that fucking glows like light bright. I mean, does it really matter right now? You got your toys on the way at Walmart, WWE. At least be happy with that. So, but I guess that's how they're seeing it. It's just a toy for selling. Fucking put Natalia out there. It doesn't mean anything. But for the most part, pretty sure I missed a few things. There's stuff about Big Cass and Big Show from Raw that everyone's so sick of seeing Big Show, just like the Orton thing. And it's just broken record stuff I feel like we went over last week anyway. But I did, before I get out of here this morning, which is crazy to think I even just said that, I have gotten an entire Slam Pigs done by myself before noon. I did put a poll up on Twitter this week. You guys came out in full force, and I did some thinking. Man, I forget who I was having a conversation with. Shout out to Ian Ferguson. I think it might have been my good buddy, the Prodigal Jay. Shout out to him. Get over and hit that subscribe on his channel. But is Sergeant Slaughter a better babyface at the end of the day or a better heel? I put up the poll. You guys voted. Overwhelmingly, I was blown away because the more I thought about it, this was harder and harder for me to decide. You guys voted 82% yes, Sarge was a better heel than a babyface. And wow, I get it. I totally get it. He had great runs in the 80s as a heel with Backlund, all that stuff. Obviously, WrestleMania 7, the Iraqi sympathizer, Sergeant Slaughter. I don't know if you guys were including Commissioner Slaughter in that, but I'm pretty sure you weren't. I'm not including that Slaughter in any of this, although it was funny to see him get a stunner. Other than that, G.I. Joe in the 80s, guys, you guys got to imagine, for those of you that weren't kids in the 80s, it was one of the biggest phenomenons as far as children at the time. And Sergeant Slaughter in the 80s and 90s, cross promotion with wrestling and anything media wise was so new and so overwhelming to see that. And for a guy like Hogan to land his own cartoon, Slaughter to get on G.I. Joe, Lou Albano to get on Super Mario Brothers Super Show, that was insane, and it was a major thing for those guys back then. Sergeant Slaughter, believe it or not, a lot of people don't know, was actually being considered one of the guys, besides Snuka and a few others, for the role that Hulk Hogan took when he beat the Iron Sheik when Vince went nationwide. I still think, obviously, and I think we all would agree, out of the Slaughters, the Snukas, the Steamboats, any of the guys' names that were in the hat to take that thing nationwide, Hogan was obviously the best bet and the total package. Sorry, Lex. But I would have to vote Sergeant Slaughter was a better babyface. For one, he wasn't a heel for that long when he was. In the 80s, yeah, for a few years, but that his most infamous heel run, well, only lasted a year tops, and 90 and 91, something like that. I'm not too sure on the entire run of his heel run in the 80s. Between his 80s heel run and his 90-91 heel run, I prefer the Iraqi Sympathizer one more, honestly. You got to imagine something. Sergeant Slaughter, you got to go back, was a guy who made an entire arena stand on their feet while reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, word for word. A president, Jimmy Carter, one of the presidents at the time, was a fan of wrestling and had his entire cabinet stand while watching an MSG show. That is legit, true story. Sergeant Slaughter was one of the biggest heroes in the history of wrestling. He really was Americana. He's met like fucking 7 or 8 presidents. He was, I got to go with he was a better babyface, but shout out to you guys for thinking he's a better heel, and I don't blame you. Like I said, one of the hardest polls I think I've ever put up, for me at least, to dwell on, but thank you guys so much for all your votes, and make sure, I'm gonna try to get another poll out this week, but be hard to top my Sergeant Slaughter poll. Other than that, before I get out of here, I do want to mention a few things. I will be on Future Wrestling Podcast this coming week for their old school episode with Logan and Broski from First Thing in the Morning. If you have not yet subscribed to Future Wrestling Podcast, get over there on YouTube, check them out, hit like, subscribe. Good stuff, good fellas, good times with those guys. Also, you can check me out on Kayfabe Today Podcast with the man himself, Broski, Robert Radford, and Drew Ortman. Over there, hit the like and subscribe over there. And coming soon, guys, I promise. We're just busy guys. Myself and Tonka Saul from Grapple Vision going to have Grapple Listen episode 3 recorded soon and in the near future for you guys. So be on the lookout for that. As always, check me out on Twitter at @TMD. Check out the reset button with myself and Tannen if you're into gaming. Check out Slam Pig's Cruise Control with Logan from Future Wrestling Podcast and Miss Kristen Slits when we talk about 205 Live every week. I can't believe that I got another stream, or my first stream, I should say, in here before noon, but man, it's done, it's over, and all apologies once again, like I said, to the fellows from Kayfabe Today. We'll try out my ass to get you guys back on in the future. Sorry for the tech issues once again. Check them out at Kayfabe Today, but until then, guys, I am out of here. I will see you pallies next week. Have a good one.
Come, Mary, come and watch the storm. Love spills the tired sleepers beyond the silent windowsill. Bottle spilling eyes now fade with weight. The silent phantom. We'll run like silent phantoms, free until the dawn. We're entwined in midnight's embrace. Your house, a purple prison, so far away. Well, I'll hide our game in the treetops and sleep. exhausted, she's dreaming of your birth. Bob's clever watch laid to sleep. I'll wait for you. Downstairs I'll wait for you beyond the porch that creep. We're entwined in midnight's embrace. Your house, a purple ruin, so far away. And I'll hide our game in the treetops and sleep in fountains we will chase. Mother's will is far away. Father's fists are far away. We set the horses loose tonight. Unbridled freedom, blessed night. Father's will is far away. Father's fists are far away. We set the horses loose tonight. Unbridled freedom, blessed night. 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 Come, Mary, come and watch the storm. Come, Mary, come and watch the storm with me tonight. I've got too deep this time. Now there is no chance left for all this blood to dry. Enshrined your picture in my red. Such a sick elegance. I found there in your eyes. It takes too long for regret to be soothed by my knife. And I'll wait for you and I'll be fine. And slashing my pain with pride, I'll let you tell me lies alone and carve out a heart to cry. Quiet seems loud today, and I'd beg for one last kiss. slashing my pain with pride. I'll let you tell me lies alone and carve out a heart to slashing my pain with pride. I'll let you tell me lies alone and carve out